back on the Put On Raiders podcast now. Dwayne Douglas here, along with Ryan Holmes. And I don't know about you, Ryan. It's tough to keep starting shows with a very crazy off the field show, because our show is more of a X's and O's, like, we're talking for real football stuff and not the salacious, like, off the field stuff. But this was a very sad moment here for the Las Vegas Raiders, who again had to kind of, a Gruden situation was one thing. This situation, a young woman lost her life, and it was really sad to see that happen. And then, there's also, there's both sides of it. And there's a 1-year-old whose father is probably going to be going to jail for a long period of time as well. So it's sad all the way around. We're going to not spend too much time on it. I would just kind of say, and I think Ryan will have the same sentiments here, is that, like, if going out is no problem going out, there's no problem having fun with friends or your significant other, whatever. It's really about using the power of, like, these devices to call a ride, to get a Lyft, get a get an Uber, whatever you have to do, Ryan, to get home safe. It is kind of chilling when Derek talked about today that the night that night he got a text, he and Hunter Renfro at midnight, that Hunter Ruggs was working on his golf swing there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that hit me different when I heard that today. Like, they were communicating at midnight, and it was only a couple hours later that the accident happened. Like, Henry could have texted him. There could have been more dialogue. I noticed Derek tried to think, what could he do better? And that's just Derek's mentality. How can he be a better leader? It's not Derek's fault what happened. It's an unfortunate, it's a lose-lose for everyone. A young lady, first and foremost, lost her life, a 23-year-old.
Yep.
And she's not coming back. And to me, I keep coming back to that. And, mentally, the last 2 days, I've been all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, feeling for her and her family, first and foremost, thinking about Ruggs basically threw away his career on. And I keep hearing people say it's a one bad decision. It was multiple bad decisions that night. It was 4 or 5 different bad decisions. It wasn't just one, but he's a 22-year-old kid who made some bad decisions in one night. That's not his character. We haven't heard anything off the field about him like that. He was supposed to be a leader. That's one of the reasons they took him. So it just, I don't know. I mean, and then when the reports hit today, 156 miles an hour, blood alcohol of 0.161, it made me feel even worse for the family of the victim. I just keep going back to, I think her name is Tina. I don't know her last name. I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but I just keep going back to that and thinking, I have a 15-year-old daughter. Like, how would I react if that happened to me? And, and Coach Bisaccia hit it. Like, he came out, the first thing they talked about was someone lost their lives. Let's not look past that. That's the main thing that happened here. And this is a learning lesson. Like you said, just don't drink and drive. At this point, you can call an Uber, or you can do Uber. You can text a friend, call a family member, Lyft, a taxi. There's a million different ways to get from point A to point B. In 2021, I'm almost shocked this still happens in 2021.
Yeah, and even for the longest time, the NFL has had this service where they will pick you up, no questions asked, no matter where you are. Like, that's something that's kind of, you got to think about too, is like they have so many ways he could have gotten help that night and just didn't. The mother of his child was in the car with him too, right? And they both got banged up pretty bad too. So it's just horrible. And you mentioned his character too, like, Nick Saban talked about him being, the leader of the wide receiving room. And we know who was in that wide receiver room. Was it Devontae Smith? Wasn't in Jerry Jeudy in that room too? And Waddle and Ruggs was the leader of it. So, like, for those guys, in that iconic, like, little, like, high five they always did, that people were playing all over social media. That was something they did all the time when they were at Alabama. So, and then this is like, people say, oh, Vegas, what do you expect? What do you expect about Vegas? But like, if you want trouble, you can find that anywhere.
This isn't a Vegas related situation.
I've had
that conversation with other people. This could have happened in any city.
It's stupid. If you want to be out, if you want to find somewhere to be out late, you can find somewhere to be out late. And I think I really, when you go out late, there was a loaded weapon in the car. It was a lot of different, and you mentioned, like, the series of bad decisions. I mean, it's just a lot. And for me, it kind of hit home. And I was kind of, when I heard he got into an accident, I was kind of hoping it was like the Tiger Woods thing where he just hit a tree or hit a light pole or something like that. But I mean, when it was somebody else's life, in TMZ, when TMZ reports it, it's fact. They cover those stories pretty well.
And
and
they
they're
were right around the corner from their house, both of them. They lived in the same neighborhood. They were.
they were
It didn't
close
give
to
the
him.
exact. The article I read made it mention like they were, a mile or two from home. And
Yeah,
I've been on that street where that accident happened. Like there's lights
yeah,
everywhere. It's a main street. It's not an open stretch where you can just go for miles. So for
yeah.
him to get up to that speed, I can't imagine getting up to 156 miles per hour on that street. It's like the speed limit's like 35 or 40.
Yeah, and then for me, I mean, shoot. There's times where I'll drive on the highway, and if I get to like 85, I feel like, oh, I'm going too fast. So I can't imagine going twice that speed. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's sad. It's disheartening. It really shook. I mean, Derek was fighting back a little bit. Like you can tell he could have burst into tears today, and nobody would have batted an eye. He was just trying to stay strong for his teammates. A lot of the Raiders teammates were showing pictures of themselves hugging, which you saw today a lot. So hopefully they can kind of stand tall together as they have to continue this season. Nobody's gonna. I mean, I do think that the thing that him and Yannick, um, say to each other, I guess, is like nobody cares. I think that's what something, and then that's their attitude, that nobody cares about what they're going through. They have to just keep going on, and hopefully they can keep going on. I'm not sure. That's all I have to say about that. I'm not sure if you have anything else to add to it before we go to football on the field.
No, that's basically it. I've talked about this for the last couple of days on various podcasts, and clearly we're having that conversation today. But there's not a lot you can say here. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate,
it's
but
sad.
the biggest takeaway from it is someone lost their life, and that can't be overlooked.
Yeah, okay. And I can imagine that person's family. The Raiders will do everything they can for that person's family. I'm sure. I'm sure of it. Knowing how Mark Davis and does his business as far as that goes. Um, as he gets released officially by the Raiders, you gotta look forward and look to yourself and say who's gonna replace Henry Ruggs, who did become a more integral part of this Raider defense, of this Raider offense, and was going to be, on his way to kind of be kind of future star for this franchise. And I want to start with, everybody likes to do the little Photoshop thing and put Odell Beckham Jr. In a Raider uniform. I'll let you go first. Your thoughts about Odell Beckham Jr., who is reportedly being sought after by the Raiders and the Saints.
Yeah, I've mixed emotions on this one as well. The Raiders clearly need an outside wide receiver to come in. They have 3 active wide receivers on the roster. There's 4 now on the practice squad, bringing back Marcel Aitman, but none of the guys they have are the speed element on the outside. Deshaun Jackson is an option, assuming he gets through waivers tomorrow. And then Odell Beckham, if he's released, he has not been at this point by the Cleveland Browns. It's tough because this is an offense that spreads the ball around. He's complaining about touches in Cleveland on a pretty good team who is in the thick of it right now. They're facing some adversity. They need to pull together, and it's his dad, I guess, that sent out the messages about him being open. But Odell could have come out and shot that down and said, "That's my father speaking. Those aren't my comments, not my views." But he didn't do that. So there's some truth to what's going on there. It sounds like he will be released here shortly. Could he help them in the short term? Yes, I believe he could. But he's going to have to be open to a reduced role where he's going to get 3 or 4 targets on the outside based on certain looks. Derek's going to spread the ball around. He's going to throw it to the backs.
Yep.
He's going to throw it to Waller. Waller's still the primary guy. He's going to throw it to Edwards. He's going to throw it to Renfro. Jacobs needs his touches. Drakes needs his touches. So for me, where the hang up is, one, I don't think Odell Beckham, he's not the same guy he was his first or second year with the Giants. Injuries have caught up to him. Drops are showing up a little bit. He doesn't have the same burst coming off the knee injury. And I don't think you're not getting a Pro Bowl level guy based on what I've seen. That's just my opinion. So is he willing to come in and take a reduced role? I don't know. He's not willing to do it in Cleveland. So what makes me think he's willing to do it in Las Vegas? So
Mm. My
My
thing,
preference would be
yeah,
Deshaun Jackson if
yeah.
they can't get him and Beckham's willing to come in. But it comes back to the locker room and the leadership. This has to be something where they have to feel strongly enough about the leaders in that locker room that if anything could happen, that one, they could move away from him and release him if something happened in Vegas. But I believe Derek Carr should be involved in this decision too, since he's the quarterback and he's the ultimate leader on this team. And if he signs off on it, then I'm okay with it. But it's not as easy as we're just going to add Odell Beckham Jr. This isn't fantasy football.
Yeah, and like when people put it out there the other day, I just shut it down and just said this isn't Madden. Like you in Madden, you can make this move and it wouldn't be a problem because you don't have to worry about, all the other ancillary stuff that goes on with locker room and everything like that. And like you said, like, is he the same player? Is he explosive? Can he make, plays down the field? Can he get behind the defense? Do you have to kind of scheme him open now, opposed to him just being able to win one-on-one consistently? I don't know, and I didn't really see that kind of player in Cleveland. And I see, people. I mean, I almost would be interested if Cleveland wanted to get rid of Peoples Jones. If they want to get rid of somebody like somebody or Landry, like somebody like that, I'd be more interested than even though they might not necessarily burners. I'd be more interested in one of those guys than Odell Beckham Jr. And then like you said, Derek is not going to be. Now he's not going to force feed somebody. If you want to play back and then have him dump it off to one of these talented backs like Jacobs or Drake, then he's going to take that and they're going to keep the chains moving no matter what. He's a very diverse passer where, like, yes, he wants to get some big chunk plays, but if you give him the stuff in between 10 and 20 yards, you saw it with the performance against the Eagles. The Eagles played way off the line of scrimmage. They played two deep safeties and everybody ate underneath. So I don't really see that one as being a feasible option, especially with the off. Listen, like off the field, I don't know what he's going to give me. That terrifies me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know. And he hasn't. When you look back at it, did he really have any? I mean, I don't know. Did he have any discretions off the field? But like in the locker room, can be just as bad. Like, you need to have as a young locker room, that is they're trying to get over two horrific things. You don't need him in that locker room. Did you know what the Raiders? Do you remember when the Giants made the playoffs and Odell Beckham went to
The boat trip.
boat trip? Do you know what their
Yeah, I
record?
remember the boat trip.
Do you remember do you know what their record is since the boat trip?
Oh, it can't be good.
So their record since the boat trip is a league worse, 20-52. I didn't know that was that long ago, but like 20-52. So that's pretty crazy. Djax, so Bay Area native, right? Went to Cal.
He went to Cal. Supposed to go to USC, but he switched to Cal. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, but hey, listen, you can make that up by coming to the Raiders. If should the Raiders have? I got this question too. From the 860, should the Raiders have just traded for him to make sure they get his rights? I know he makes what 2.7. They only have like 2.2 available. Could they move some money around and just like instead of going through the waiver process, just get him because they needed him so bad? I know things happen so quickly with Ruggs that day.
Yeah, there is a cap hit with Ruggs being released, so the money's not coming off immediately. So they're going to have to move some money around just to cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Could they? I believe Jackson comes in base salary. I think it's 1.4. There are game day bonuses that push that up into like the 2.5, 2.6 range. If they really wanted him, could they have thrown a conditional seventh at the Rams? Probably.
Who have no picks at all.
Yeah, my feeling is he will clear waivers. I don't think anyone's picking up the contract, and he's going to get to choose his choice. From my understanding, is he grew up a Raiders fan. There is some interest there. He could help them on the outside. He can still run. He can still pull some coverages, but he's probably more, 15 snaps a game. This is not a guy that you're going to run out there 40, 50 snaps a game at wide receiver. I still would expect Zay Jones to take a majority of the snaps, and then they would mix in Jackson if they were able to acquire him versus certain looks, downs and distances, certain packages, because he's not going to know the offense. There is probably some familiarity coming from the Rams from Sean McVay going into Gruden's old system, but you're probably not looking at a guy, like I said, who you're going to target 4, 5, 6 times a game. He's not going to be out there 50 snaps. So I still think Zay Jones is the biggest benefactor here. and Zay Jones can play. I mean, he's not terrible. So I think he does have a chance to come here and help them. That would be who I think they would target ultimately first. And if there's other teams ahead of them, so other teams, the Saints we mentioned earlier for Odell Beckham Jr. The Saints could definitely use Deshaun Jackson. The Buccaneers could use Deshaun Jackson. There's a lot of teams that could. So the Kansas City Chiefs would probably be another one. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. As far as that goes, does he have any say in that part of it? If he says, "Listen, New Orleans,
Not reporting.
I'm listen. You can put the claim in, but Trevor Simeon's your quarterback. I'm good. Like, could that just like be like a thing that an agent puts out there?
Absolutely, that would go through the agent. The agent would notify teams that had interest in him that, hey, you could claim me, but I'm not reporting based on Trevor Simeon or Taysom Hill or whoever the quarterback is. I'm sure there is some of that going on.
Or Philip Rivers, who said he's open to coming back to play for the Saints.
Yeah. My feeling is that there's probably a 75% chance he's going to go and claim. There's definitely some posturing going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, no question about it. Zay Jones, you mentioned that knowledge of the offense. As far as speed goes, just fast enough as far as that to make you think. I mean, he does make you feel like he could get the job done as far as when you look at, knowledge of the offense, work ethic. Like at nighttime, you have to worry about, what he's doing, things like that. The relationship with the quarterback who kind of always fights for him to be on here. And I think Derek is going to do whatever he can to kind of make sure, this could happen for him. Like, he's not going to force the ball to him, but there's going to be some things in there where, hey, they're going to give a guy who is a pretty good athlete an opportunity to make some plays in this offense in Zay Jones.
Yeah, the good thing about this offense is there's multiple weapons. They're not reliant on the two outside wide receivers. Where it's really going to show up, I believe, is when teams are clearly going to double Darren Waller now. That's going to happen, and hit Hunter Renfrow at times. So they're going to force Edwards and Jones to win on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's a combination here. It's going to be, first and foremost, the running game has to pick up. Drake and Jacobs are going to be counted on here, I think, even more. Get him involved in the passing game. Mm-hmm. Zay Jones doesn't need to go out and put up monster numbers. He's going to get 3 or 4 targets a game, 2 or 3 catches, 40, 50 yards, occasionally touchdown down the field. And Derek Carr trusts him. They do have chemistry. He knows the playbook. He can play all the different positions and move around. The depth is a concern. If there is an injury to Renfrow, Jones, or Edwards, the Raiders are going to have some issues. They need to get some guys on the team up to speed. I know they have, the young guys on the practice squad, but you can't count on Dylan Stone or DJ Turner to step in and give you meaningful snaps that they've never played it down in the NFL. Javon Williams has a little bit. He played for Chicago, so he could probably come in and help you a little bit, but none of those 3 guys are going to be difference makers to the Raiders down the stretch.
Yeah, no question about it. I totally agree. So just listen, I think they're going to ride with Zay Jones, and tomorrow we'll be seeing, if Deshaun Jackson, who we'll see if his Raider fandom from his days in Northern California will let him go through waivers to the point where he can say, hey, I want to go play with the Raiders out there in Vegas. Now the mentality, the emotional baggage of another huge event facing the Raiders, and they go from there to New York to have to get ready to play. We can talk about football being the great distraction, if you will. I think that's one thing that they're kind of hoping for, is like when they get on the field, like they can just kind of forget about all that stuff. It can be hard to forget about that stuff. Are you worried about the team emotionally going into this game? Because I think that your emotions are going to be pretty especially when Derek talked about like seeing that empty locker in the locker room.
I believe I would have been had the Gruden situation not happened 2 weeks ago and they went into Denver and played pretty well. I think Bisaccia is the right coach to handle the situation. And as he mentioned, there is no guide of how to handle this, but I think this team mentally is in the right place to where they can go on the road and pull out a win here against the Giants. The Giants are not a great football team. So the Raiders should go in there I believe the defense is going to play well. The defensive line is going to have the advantage here against the Giants O line.
Mhm.
I do expect probably a little bit of a sluggish start as the 10 a.m. game. You know, the emotions of this week may play a toll. They may fall down early, but I think at the end of the day, this team can go in there and come out with a win.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's talk about the battles of the coordinators here. I think the one that I think that should be, which I think really should be a mismatch in my mind, which should be Jason Garrett versus Gus Bradley here. Bradley has been pretty good this year. The mobile quarterback, that's the couple things that can make this game close is a couple of big runs by Daniel Jones, which he is capable of. Excessive turnovers in this ball game by the Raiders. Those things you have to look out for. But if it's just head on head, Jason Garrett calling plays against Gus Bradley, I think I'm feeling pretty good about that, especially with the way Daniel Jones just and you mentioned it in our text thread, kind of just crumbles under pressure. Like as soon as he feels any kind of pressure, he just is going down. That offensive line has not been really good. I mean, if the Chiefs are giving you pass rush issues, then you know about that. Sorry, Chiefs fans. You got a break this week, so I got to give you something as far as that goes. But what are your thoughts about Garrett versus Bradley here?
Yeah, the advantage is clearly shifts over to Gus Bradley, in my opinion. And Jason Garrett's more of the old school. He wants to run the football. He's predictable. The passing game with the Giants isn't advanced. It's not 2021 passing game. They're going to be down some weapons too. But I think it comes back to the offensive line. They're playing backups right now at multiple positions. They're down their left tackle. They got Matt Pearl swung over there. That's a huge advantage for the Raiders with Ngakoue going up against Pearl. On the other side, you have Nate Solder, who's just trying to hold on at this point of his career, going up against Max Crosby. Another clear advantage for the Raiders. And even inside, Will Hernandez is a good run blocker, not great in pass protection. And then on the other side, you have Billy Price at center. And I'm drawing a blank on who the left guard is. I just watched them play the Chiefs, but I want to – anyway, the Raiders are going to have the advantage on the inside. So if the Raiders can get pressure with 4, the key, like you said, is going to be you got to get Daniel Jones on the ground. When you rush forward and you give him a lane, he may run for 15 or 20. So the key is clearly here, don't turn the ball over. The Raiders can't give them advantageous field position. They got to win the field position battle. If they pressure Daniel Jones, he will turn the ball over. That's just who he is. Him and Carson Wentz, to me, are the same guy. Athletic, can move a little bit, will make some good throws, make some bad throws. Accuracy is an issue, but they will turn the ball over. They have no problem giving it to you. And the Raiders are going to have to take advantage. When Daniel Jones gives them an opportunity to intercept the ball, they're going to have to do it. And if they do, I think, like I said, they can win this game. And they got to run the football too. The Giants do have a good defense here, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Raiders offense.
Yeah. And also you mentioned Patrick Graham is a guy who, in a lot of NFL circles, people think that he could be an NFL head coach, a candidate coming up soon against Greg Olson here. I kind of just kind of keeping them off balance. They do have some players on that defense who, yes, if you could pluck somebody off of that defense, you would. They have some players who can definitely play. Interesting to see what they do with Bradbury in this game with the Raiders not having Ruggs there anymore as far as that goes. But listen, I think the Raiders are moving the ball around anyway. They're gonna have to do some creative things to kind of get while they're open, because clearly they're not going to just sit there and just put one person on Waller and let him go. The kid from Georgia is turning into be a pretty good player. Algieri, did I say last name? Ojulari. Ojulari. So you team him up with Leonard Williams, who really just needs to somehow, some way get over to his favorite football team. Can become a Raider at some point in his career. But as far as that goes, yeah, they do have some players there, but this is a game where they could be on the field a whole lot. So I think sometimes in the first quarter, if you don't get a touchdown on that first drive, sometimes it's just if you get a couple of first downs, let them keep playing, let that defense keep having themselves on the field, and you can get those 3 and outs. The Raiders have done a good job of they might get a touchdown early or field goal early, but then after that they kind of go in shutdown mode and they'll have like 4 or 5 consecutive drives where they're forcing somebody to punt or turn that team over. They do that on Sunday. They should be in good shape.
Definitely. I think the game plan offensively is going to be attack the linebackers. They're down a couple of starters. They played Crowder. They had another backup in. They're down Blake Martinez. So the Raiders can attack the middle of that defense with Jacobs, in the passing game with Drake, with Renfro, with Waller when he's lined up in line. Well, I fully expect, like you mentioned, if they split Waller out wide, you're probably going to see Bradbury go with him. They do have some good players in the secondary. Dory Jackson can make some plays on the ball, but he can also give up some plays. It looks like they're going to be down Xavier McKinney in the secondary, kind of as that third safety. And Julian Love is playing right now as well as a backup safety in place of Jabril Peppers, who they're down. Logan Ryan's a veteran that the Raiders will probably avoid. You may see him get a little bit of time on Waller as well. But the Raiders can move guys around, get matchups they want. As long as they can control Leonard Williams around the line of scrimmage, because he can give them some problems, they should be okay. I don't think you're going to see them come out and get those explosive plays down the field. I think the Giants are going to play similar defense to them as they did to the Chiefs. You actually saw them play some 3 safety looks there, rush 3 on certain downs. This is going to be a game where Carr's going to have to be efficient underneath in the intermediate game, screen game to slow down that pass rush if Ojulari is getting home. But I think Lorenzo Carter's the other pass rusher. He's been hurt. He did not practice today. So that could help the Raiders as well. And then in the run game, you got to block Dexter Lawrence. You got to figure out how to block that big guy in the middle. And like I said, this could be the game where you see those long 10, 12 play drives that result in touchdowns, try to shorten the game. And when the Raiders get in the red zone, they're going to have to score touchdowns at a much better clip, because I think they're just not going to be as explosive anymore without having that speed element on the outside. And if they can't get the running game over, you're going to start to see those safeties creep back and take away those deep balls. So they got to establish the run.
Just a tweet from, I believe, just a Raider fan, Tristan Kuhn. I think I say his last name. The 2020 draft class. Henry Ruggs released. Damon Arnett benched. Lynn Bowden Jr. Traded 0 snaps. And Brian Edwards is the starter. Tanner Muse 0 snaps. Amik Robertson benched, and John Simpson is a starter. That's an all-timer right there. That's an all-timer. And it's gonna look even worse when you look at the other wide receivers in the first round and the careers they have. That's gonna be even better. That's gonna be even worse. I think it kind of covers everything. Are you worried about the specials? Do you think this is going to be a game where they kind of kick the ball out of the end zone, or are we still going to be doing that thing where we're kicking the ball at the 5, trying to pin people back? And also Carlson.
I'm for kicking it out at any time you can. Avoid any potential return, because what you don't want to do, like I said, is give up a big return and give a team good field position.
Especially a bad team.
Rely on your defensive line, make them go 75 yards.
Yeah.
Am I worried about Carlson? Oh, yeah, I am, depending on the wind conditions that are going on in that stadium.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You never know what's going to happen. But I believe he tweeted me or texted me earlier in the week, low to mid 50s, sunshine. So, and it doesn't seem like weather other than wind could be a potential factor here.
So so that's the wrong city. That's the wrong city. Sorry. I got excited for a second. The wrong city. If 57 degrees looks like, with, so with partly sunny. So you're not going to get, hopefully you're not going to get that nasty weather, but being somebody who used to live in the Northeast, that can change. That can change pretty quickly. Prediction time. What are your thoughts? And when we get to our pick section, I picked the Raiders in this game as well. They're a 3-point choice here. What are your thoughts about the Raiders? Did they win this game? They take it home, or what do you feel about that part of it?
I do think that they find a way to win this game. I do think they're going to come out a little bit slow. I wouldn't be surprised to see them fall behind early, 7-0, 10-0, something like that. But I do think they rally the troops. I'm going to go Raiders 24. I don't think they're going to be that explosive. They're going to control the clock here. I'm going to go 24-13. I think it's going to be a fairly easy win at the end of the day, but they're going to have to overcome some adversity after the first quarter.
Yeah, I just don't see. I'm picking the Raiders too as well. I am going to, and I think the biggest thing about it for me is one of the things that, like, when I look at it, like the Giants are going to play an entire game of good football. I think the Raiders are to a point now where even with all the drama going on, like you have to play a long period of time of really good football to beat them, and I just don't see them being able to do that. And they have done it all year. They're 2-6. Do you trust like the three-headed monster of like what they have going? Joe Judge, okay, and you have and his choice for his quarterback guru offensive coordinator is Jason Garrett. Like, I mean, I like Patrick Graham, but like the other two guys, I mean, that's bad football as far as that goes. The Raiders offensive line has not given up a sack in the last 6 quarters. And is this true that the Raiders have not lost a fumble all year?
That is true.
But
you may have just jinxed them.
I shouldn't have said that. So I shouldn't have
Yeah,
said
I'm
that.
looking at the weather. The wind is 3 miles an hour to the southwest. The wind's not a factor. Rain's not a factor. It's not going to be cold. Watching that Giants Chiefs game, the Giants make a lot of stupid penalties.
I'm not definitely looking forward to that one. The Chiefs did, and let's go a little AFC West before we go to the before we go to the picks and get out of here. I didn't feel great about the Chiefs' performance against the Giants, but I mean, you couldn't get a bigger break this week. And we'll see if it's a break because the more and more I'm thinking about it is the more and more I'm thinking that this game is, and you'll see my picks. I actually picked the Packers to cover in this game, even because I'm sure that thing's going to go from 7 to 8 to 9 against the Packers with the Chiefs. Would you? I mean, you didn't see. You saw the same old 2021 Chiefs in this game, right? You didn't feel great about the Chiefs in this one against the Giants.
No. No, I thought the Giants had every opportunity to win that game, which was kind of surprising going in. The Chiefs just got to stop turning the ball over. I mean, their metrics are good offensively. They're number 1 in points per drive. They're scoring points when they don't turn it over. But they got to stop making those mistakes. And it's everybody. It's not just Mahomes throwing interceptions. It's Kelsey. It's Hill fumbling the ball. It's the running backs fumbling the ball. So if they go a couple of weeks without turning the ball over and put up 30 points,
Don't be worried.
Yeah, I'm going to see this team differently. But they haven't done that. But they can. To me, they are a scary team. Like looking down the road, it wouldn't surprise me. Say the Raiders stub their toe this week and the Chiefs beat the Packers. That game, the Raiders will be 5-3 going into that Sunday night game. The Chiefs 6-4, or I'm sorry, 6-3 and 5-4. They're going to be a game apart. So that's going to be a big game. So the Raiders need to take care of business against the Giants, and let's hope Jordan Love plays like a first rounder against the Chiefs, because the Packers still have weapons. They still have Aaron Jones. They still have a good offensive line. They still have Devontae Adams. They're going to score some points, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love. We just, hopefully the Packers defense can get some turnovers and keep it close.
Yeah. The Pats beat the Chargers. And everybody I heard. So Peter Schrager said this, and I want everybody to understand. So Peter Schrager said on football, and I only watch 5 minutes of these shows because I can't take them. So there's no analysis. They just go off they just say random stuff, and it's all East Coast media. That the Patriots, New England Patriots, are only going to lose 2 more games the entire season. And that's the 2 games they play against the Bills.
I listened to NFL Network radio, or NFL Sirius XM radio today, and I think Charlie Weiss had 11 teams in the playoffs in the AFC, and he was convinced that the Patriots have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Bengals. I'm not ready to go there yet, but let's slow down. They've won 4 games. They beat the Texans and the Jets twice for 3 of those wins.
Just saying.
And that game against the Chargers could have gone either way late. The Chargers game plan in that game was very baffling, but we'll see. They do have some games on their schedule that look winnable, but they still have 4 or 5 games that could really hurt them. And you never know with a rookie quarterback. So we'll see.
That's tough there, but they did do us a favor last week. And then the Broncos. I think the Broncos trading away Von Miller. That's the white flag that we're waiting for. I was hoping they would get rid of Shelby Harris and everybody else. It makes sense. They should have just done it in the offseason, in my mind, because they weren't taking that contract on for next year anyway. The Broncos are done, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on that as far as that goes. Let's go right to the picks now. Unless you had some Bronco thoughts, I don't want to cut you off.
I thought it was surprising that they moved Kerry Vincent Jr., the rookie 6th rounder from LSU, the defensive back. Why they were moving on from a rookie when they clearly need to go into a rebuild mode here was interesting. But yeah, I think they have to play defense and keep teams under 20 to win with Teddy Bridgewater trading Hall of Fame defensive end. Clearly, they're waving the white flag. I think it's over there. They might win a couple more games, get to 6 or 7 wins, but they're clearly not going to be in the jumbled mess that is the AFC. I think it's pretty clear you can write the Broncos off at this point.
Yeah, they're pretty tough. So had a tough week last week. Let's just roll with this week's picks. I'm gonna start with the Panthers and the Patriots. I'm just there when you play with the way the Patriots play, it's just a fine line. I think it's going to be a very ugly game. I think it's going to be like, this game might even be 17-14 somebody, but this is going to be an ugly ball game. And I think the Panthers find a way to win it. I don't think that they can, the Patriots are, I think people are looking for this to be like a Brady part 2. They want it so bad. They can taste it. They feel like East Coast media is coming. It's coming. We're gonna get another Patriot playoff game. You're not gonna get one this year. Sorry. The Panthers find a way to win this game. The Falcons cover 6 and with the 6 points. Raiders win. I got Arizona beating San Francisco. Oh, it's only a 1 point. It's only 1 point spread there. And then the Packers, the cover against the Chiefs.
You went a 5-pack there.
I went 5-pack. I felt good. I felt good. Last week was horrible. I did not. Let's see what I did. Last week was bad. I lost.
I want to talk about last week.
Oh, yeah, we won't talk about last week. We lost that. We were. If you went to Vegas last week on our picks, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to apologize for any listeners when I took the Lions last week. I don't know what I was thinking. I've criticized Dan Campbell all year, and I actually bet on him. Thought they would have a chance against the Eagles. Clearly, I was wrong on that one. And then, the Arizona-Green Bay game, I took the over. If they don't throw an interception there and kick a field goal, I hit the over based on overtime as long as there wasn't a tie. So I'll call that a bad beat. But this week, I got 4 games I kind of like here. Arizona going on the road to San Francisco, only laying 1 point. I do like Arizona. I'm confused here. I like Cincinnati. They're the home team, and it's only a 2.5 point number against the Browns, who I think are all beat up. Baker Mayfield's hurt. They sent Odell Beckham Jr. home. There's drama. Who knows if Kareem Hunt's going to play? They're injured all over the place. I think the Bengals find a way to rebound after that loss to the Jets at home in a divisional game. So give me the Bengals minus 2.5. I agree with you on the New England Carolina game, but I'm going to take the under 44.5. I'm not going to touch the point spread, but I do think it's a low scoring game. And also, I'll take the under in Minnesota against Baltimore. Another one, I think the defenses show up. It turns into a running fest. And I'll take the under 49.5 in Minnesota and Baltimore. So those would be my 4 games.
4 games. So 4 games. So we're going to post these too. So we got to start winning some games.
We got to start hitting them. We were good until last week.
last week was horrible, but I think I really feel good about bouncing back. I do kind of feel like the Raider game might start off that way, and then maybe like ended up and like they might be down like maybe 13-0, and like maybe touchdown at the end of the half, turnover, 10-3, take over third quarter kind of game out there in MetLife, one of the worst stadiums in the NFL, along with SoFi. All right. Did it all done in an hour, as we do. Anything in parting before we go? Definitely, just to want to reiterate, I'm all for having a good time, but you have these apps. You can have a Siri shortcut that says, "Hey Siri, get me an Uber." Hey Siri, get me a Lyft. It's no reason to put my father was showing me how to drive. He said a car can be a weapon in a matter of a second. So pay attention. So that's what I'll leave it on as far as that goes. And hearts go out to all the families involved in this again.
Definitely. And I'll just reiterate, hug your loved ones. Tomorrow's not promised for any of us.
It is not.
And make sure that you appreciate the people around you that are in your life.
Yeah, no question about it. On that note, we'll see you next time. And Raider Nation, peace.
Raider fans, thanks again for listening to the Put on Raiders podcast. But please be sure to subscribe and leave comments. We'd love to answer the comments in the future. But keep those clicks, keep watching, and we're here for you to break down all Raiders content.